watched as complacency replaced discipline. We sat on the sidelines as clickbait replaced our history. And we kept silent as our skill sets and careers became automated, antiquated, routine, and forgotten. This is unacceptable. We're here to guide you towards putting down your number and reclaiming your given name. We're here to guide you towards your vision of freedom. The world has changed, and there's no more room for willful ignorance. So to those happy with being stuck, with being complacent, this podcast's not for you. But to those looking for more, follow us as we reclaim it all. For our children, for our grandchildren, and for future generations to come.
From somewhere deep undercover in the Pacific Northwest, this is the American Reveille Podcast, and here is your host, James Lane.
Epically motivated while remarkably cultivated. This is the American Reveille Podcast, and I am your host, James Lane. Folks, happy Monday, or whatever day you happen to be listening, or night for my freaks out there. You're joining us for the dozenth, yes, I said the dozenth episode of the ARP. That actually sounds like one of those pro wrestling promotions, ARP, American Reveille Podcast. I should get a soundbite made of people chanting it like ARP. I should get a championship belt made and stuff. Maybe I could fight Tom Segura, who knows? Anyway, the name of this episode is The Waterboy Hypothesis. The Waterboy being an Adam Sandler movie from 1998, a film that really should have no relationship with what we're talking about, yet instead has everything to do with what we're talking about, and of course a hypothesis, which is my own professional assumption that one thing relates to another and merits further research and explanation. So we're going to use this episode to find our tackling fuel. Just don't tell Mama. But please tell Vicki Valencourt. In fact, before we find our tackling fuel, let's talk about Vicki Valencourt, the Virgo, if I remember correctly. So that was like 22 years ago, and that means I was like 12 or 13 years old, which means Vicki Valencourt probably was a crush of mine back then. And there have to be other people out there that thought the same. They must have thought that Fairuza Balk may have had something to do with some of their and mine and all of our terrible relationship choices once upon a time. But as Bobby Boucher once said, she showed me her boobies, Mama, and I liked them too. And I think that applied in many, many of the instances I'm referring to. So I'm totally going to apologize in advance again because my Louisiana accent is pretty mean and nasty, and it may come out a few times. I'm not from there. I'm just going to imitate it. And that's also going to be my last nod to Tom Segura in this episode. So without further ado, let's explore the chemicals behind motivation. Let's learn how to harness them. And let's open up a can of whoop ass on the obstacles of life. So now I'm actually listening to Jerry Reed, and I wish I could actually play it in this segment, but someone somewhere would probably sue me, and since I'm a middle-class dad, I really can't afford that. A lot of people don't know something that's pretty amazing about that piece of shit coach from The Waterboy. Jerry Reed's actually a fucking legend, and yeah, I kind of have to curse there. He deserves that kind of respect and attention. They actually called him the Claw, because he was like one of the fastest hand-picking guitarists ever. He was super freaking legend. Just try and show him a little respect, check out his music, or watch some Smokey and the Bandit or something. He died in 2008, so I digress. We've all heard the denunciations of motivation, and the current trend is to really pump up discipline and put down motivation, and I agree with the basis of that argument. Discipline's kind of a thing that you do no matter what. It's like drinking water or breathing, but at the same time, motivation's a chemical process. It's a combination of things that give us the drive to get something done, yet with discipline, it gets done no matter what. Unfortunately, with motivation, it comes and goes. So we need to slice open motivation and kind of see what makes it tick. Now, I don't play around on this podcast. We're still getting our footing, but the science, if I give you the science, it's coming from an academic and approved source. And in fact, the published article that I use to back up what I'm talking about is actually called The Behavioral Neuroscience of Motivation, an overview of concepts, measures, and translational applications. It's from Simpson and Balsam in 2016, and it's from Current Topics in Behavioral Neurosciences. So it's an an actual academic source. And I'm not saying this for any reason to pump anything up. I want to build trust between you guys. So trust but verify. Anyway, motivation itself seems to be quite hypocritical. It's a driver to the individual, yet it's different in every individual, passed down apparently from our ancestors almost, and renewing and improving itself throughout the ages. Motivation, it's an interrupted, flawed, disrupted gift and curse, an emotional driver consisting of biological and physiological processes made up of the very basis of our molecules. It places a hand in our damn business, from our own individual goals and aspirations to that of our advanced groups and social achievements. So what sparks it? What sparks motivation? So this is a series of chemical reactions. It's plain and simple. And don't worry, we'll close the show with the muse and some extra fun stuff, but science takes precedence. So let's talk about science for a few minutes and get it out of the way so we can have some fun. So as Waylon Jennings would say, she's a good-hearted woman in love with a good time in man. Well, replace the good-hearted woman with discipline and replace the good time in man with motivation. That's how the two processes really dance with each other. It's a fucking tango. It's not a waltz. Motivation really could be considered maybe a combination of neural events that lead to goal-directed activity. It's the electrifying, the energizing, the explosion, the bass drop, the gunshot, that feeling that magnetically pulls you towards achieving your goals, and the associated booty that comes with that success. And I mean booty like rewards and spoils, guys, not booty like Instagram. The science of motivation isn't ultimately agreed upon either, but the government source I mentioned above gives what I believe to be the best explanation of the process, which I'll try to break down for you really quick. It's a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but I promise I'll make this make sense in the end. So we're really dealing with the psychological state you're in, like how stressed you are, how much is on your plate, how tired you are you hungry, do you have a cold, all the kinds of things that make up your mental state at any given moment. So you can imagine how accurate input data is when trying to study this. And wait, there's more. We also all have to consider the environment an individual finds themselves in. Is it even possible to achieve anything in our situation? And really, finally, our personal experience also plays a really big factor. This means how much failure and success we've seen in life related to whatever may be sparking such motivation that we are actually experiencing at any given time towards any given objective. So there's a ton of dopamine involved in all this. And I'm in school to be a business doctor, not a doctor. So until we're successful enough to have guests and someone wants to come on and explain it and talk about it, we're really only going to go as deep as dopamine. And by the way, you're welcome, whatever teenager takes as deep as dopamine for their next band name and song title. So what could I say besides you're welcome for your fucking awesome band name I just made up for you anyway. So let's pull out our blender and toss the top three in. We're talking about your mental state, your environment, and your experience. This mix of stuff combines into a subconscious weighing of costs and benefits, risks and rewards. It's in a bath of dopamine. The goosebumps rise. We feel pulled towards achieving a goal. This process can then be used to figure out where to direct our actions and focus. I have to make something obvious, though. There's no proven science yet on this as far as I know, so it's all conceptual. And there's a lot of research and science behind it, but there's multiple schools of thought. It's almost as if these processes have a mind of their own. And you know, we're organisms made up of many organisms and processes. So to make this even creepier, we operate in the same group setting. Humans and organizations working towards a collective goal are basically just imitating individual processes. So it should be recognized and even questioned concerning strangely related processes. For example, some would say that a cell under a microscope may be similar to how objects in space act in orbit. All I'm saying is that humans and groups can act and do act as a single entity, which is why once a company is seen as a hypothetical living, breathing thing, it becomes exponentially easier to mentally predict future chess moves. And the whole chess moves thing I just brought up, don't worry about that for now. That's a whole other episode. I want you to recognize, though, that there's chemistry involved internally between people. And that's the point of this segment. So So, recognizing this, what if we could harness these chemicals naturally? What if we could take a hit of motivation somehow? When we get back from my new and improved, shortened, shaved, shaped, and shameless demonstration of self-promotion, we're going to find our tackling fuel. So, folks, we'll be right back.
Reveille Podcast with James Lane would like to take a moment to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to tune into the show. It's because of great fans like you that we strive to deliver the best quality content one can create as fast as one can fling the pen. With that being said, a good little boy never misses his opportunity to sell himself, and though James would never ask you for your money, he would like to let you know that if you absolutely love this podcast, the writing, the art, its production, anything, please do us the personal favor of liking, sharing, tweeting, texting, and talking about this podcast. James Lane is a father, a husband, a U.S. Navy veteran, and is personally committed to the success of the American Reveille Podcast. Please email James Lane directly at podcast@AmericanReveille.com, or please visit our website at www.AmericanReveille.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
And we're back. So I'm listening to a mix in my headphones, and actually, guys, I always, when I'm recording, actually have music playing in my headphones too. I go back actually and listen to what I said, obviously, and maybe it's a little longer, but I've always recorded my own voice also listening to music when it's just vocals for talking. So anyway, I'm listening to this song in the mix. It's just playing randomly. It's Money from Cardi B. And if you have kids around, don't Google it, but there's a part where she mentions she sleeps in leather pajamas, and I just can't imagine that being comfortable at all. It's starting to get warm. It's actually the hottest day so far. I think it was like 85 today, and I'm up in Seattle, so I don't have a studio. I've got all the doors closed, the fans off, and I'm sweating to death recording this. So I would just imagine that it's akin to Batman coming home after a long night fighting crime in a rubber suit. Oh my God, it has to be hot anywhere for leather pajamas. Anyway, back to tackling fuel. If there's chemicals that can aid us in achieving a goal, wouldn't it make sense that people would try and leverage such states? I mean, people do, and I'm sure you've realized by now that some people meditate, some people listen to loud music, maybe you've put some puzzle pieces together, but if you understand the inner workings of something, it's much easier to duplicate it. So the better I get you to understand the concepts I'm sharing with you, the quicker you can duplicate it in your own life and gain some value from it. So much of what I say going forward, it's going to be my own thoughts on the matter. And if there's anything that sounds similar or is on the same page, please bring it to my attention so I can make any clarifications necessary to validate my work. So anyway, The Waterboy. So let's go through a few scenes of the movie, break a few things down, and see if we can apply it to a motivational stim pack. Anyway, we start on a football field at Louisiana University somewhere, and within the first few minutes, we witness Adam Sandler get hit in the face with a football. He's humiliated, and he gets fired. Life's kind of like this, isn't it? Cut to a lonely ride on the freeway of sadness atop a rickety riding lawnmower, home with Mama, getting laughed at by Captain Insano, only to find the fawns and become the new Waterboy. The movie follows an entirely imaginary, exaggerated life, yet life itself, at all of its basic roots, follow similar patterns. It makes sense when you understand that storytelling structure is based upon reality. We see Coach Klein, the Fonz, attempting to follow the strategic plotting method I talked about in episode 3 of this podcast. This movie, by the way, is full of great analogies to real life. Another one being that sometimes you have to show everyone value before you're accepted. Not that it's the nicest thing in the world. Still, though, it's true. Sometimes you have to prove yourself to the group for the group accepts accepts you, just as you have to prove yourself to the universe through your consistent efforts, improvements, and hard work before you reach any real success. So we finally reach the famous scene where Bobby Boucher plays his memories of all of the people who've ever hurt him, who've all been mean to him, and he just attacks. He harnesses something. He found his motivation to fight back. He visualizes their faces, their voices. He sees his pain and it becomes real, and he can taste it. He can smell it, and he leaps forward, speeding like a freight train, a face twisted and determined. He sprints forth, goes through the obstacle, and it doesn't matter how big it is. It wouldn't matter. It would be crushed anyway. And as wacky as this sounds, it's absolutely legitimate. Visualization works. Audio stimulation works. Mental regression through profound thought works. Some people meditate, as we said earlier, but when I write a 30-page paper for one of my classes, I close my eyes and see the 9th grade guidance counselor that told me I was a loser and tried to convince me to drop out. When I need to maintain the discipline, I turn to my own leveraging of motivational forces and the emotions that drive them to keep the train on the tracks and steaming forward. So again, everyone is different. Everyone leads a different life, and it's a combination of different genetic makeups. It's our own responsibility. It's part of our own personal journeys in this world to figure out what makes our guts boil, our hearts pound, and our gooses, frankly, bump. So I use my wacky ability to visualize and imagine things as lucidly as I do to drive myself forward when consistency just isn't enough. And discipline is essential. It really is. And I believe motivation comes in handy as well, tremendously, especially if the discipline is faulty on that day. So if you happen to find yourself not wanting to go back to the gym or lagging on getting something done, you can literally think of what you can accomplish in the longer scheme of things and even listen to music or watch a movie or do something that makes your resolve bubble up to the surface. This isn't always a natural move for everyone, yet you really have to let your guard down and just allow yourself to feel the emotion run through you. And if you have trouble with emotions, you need to start there before coming here, and let me know. We can talk about it in private if you want. Anyway, I want you to know that this is why I created the Epic Motivation series on YouTube as well. I have like 37 more clips I can work with too so far, and I'm even toying with the idea of doing an Epic Inspiration series as well. And when I create these videos, I try to really feel it. I dig deep, I close my eyes, and I try to feel it because I know that if it makes me feel something, I know you'll feel something as well. So with that, just remember that we're all different. We just have to start somewhere. And as you learn who you are, just like we mentioned in the last episode, you'll get exponentially better at everything. So while we take the next break, I want you to digest the fact that I just turned the Waterboy into a tool for the tool shed. And I know you'll remember it, and I know it'll help. And we'll be right back, folks, with the final segment. Mabuhay.
The American Reveille Podcast with James Lane would like to take a moment to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to tune into the show. It's because of great fans like you that we strive to deliver the best quality content one can create as fast as one can fling the pen. With that being said, a good little boy never misses his opportunity to sell himself, and though James would never ask you for your money, he would like to let you know that if you absolutely love this podcast, the writing, the art, its production, anything, please do us the personal favor of liking, sharing, tweeting, texting, and talking about this podcast. James Lane is a father, a husband, a U.S. Navy veteran, and is personally committed to the success of the American Reveille Podcast. Please email James Lane directly at podcast@AmericanReveille.com, or please visit our website at www.AmericanReveille.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show where we take the shit, we break the shit down, and we make the shit taste better. It tastes so good, in fact, the dog won't stop licking it. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Reveille Podcast is here for you, and here to stay, fueled by the most stubborn brand of a human being that could ever be conceived by two mismatched individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, I am James Lane, and I'm your ever so not so humble tour guide through the twists and turns that make up the inner cosmic freeways of growth, perseverance, and personal purpose-finding spectaculars, bringing you some of the best dad jokes and the worst analogies you could ever imagine. I am now going to attempt to convince you of the quality lubricant motivation can provide you. Yes, come one, come all, come close, but don't come too fast. One at a time, head out of the gutter. Motivation not only lubricates, but it medicates, proliferates, calibrates, and demonstrates just what can be done when you spike your discipline with just one dose of Uncle Jiminy's magical motivational multi-tonic. Yes, I just want you to know, guys, I did not write that. I just did that. So anyway, please, someone do something with that. Get that to somebody who can use it and make some money for us. Anyway, it's yours. Take it. You can have it. It shouldn't be left up there in my brain anyway. If you really can get to the bottom of where your hypothetical USB port is, guys, what signal you need to inject into yourself to light that big fire up under your ass, it's a powerful tool. You need to look inside and recognize those moments when the discipline's slipping and when the extra mile's necessary, when the ordinary explosives don't work. Sometimes you need to call in the bombers to take out the whole fucking mountainside. So that really is my recommendation. Don't waste motivation. Stick to using discipline. Stick to what works, but don't forget that when things get tough in life and when life beats you down, when you've had to get up again and again, and you just feel like staying down, that's when you use these little tricks. That's when you take out the imaginary motivation needle and jam it into your thigh like a motivational stim pack. People do this stuff every day. You might not even realize it. A real basic example of this would be like getting yourself pumped up before the gym, or a team getting each other pumped up before a sports game, like by watching a movie on your phone or something that really gets you psyched up, where like the underdog gets a big win. Sometimes I'll watch like Training Day or Man on Fire, or even like if I'm sitting on the toilet at the gym, I was thinking about pulling up some of that American Reveille epic motivation series to get off the toilet and get myself into the glorious house of gains. Wink, wink, Robert Frank. Most people know this stuff. I'm not expressing anything new as far as conceptualization. What I'm doing, though, is organizing the damn thing for you. We've all lived vicariously through someone else. We've all allowed a stand-up comedian to take us on a journey, a sports game to get us wrapped up, or stunning visuals from a music video, maybe to get our adrenaline pumping. But these are all methods of using our emotions almost as a conduit to receive a message through maybe some sort of different process of learning or reception. And if you can find things that allow you to use your emotions to take a trip, to go on the roller coaster ride, to let something inside yourself take over, I can imagine actually many ancient people were describing this feeling when writing certain legends and folk tales and going on their spirit journeys. That maybe they would say these spirits would take over them. Well, maybe when you're pooping at the gym and you get motivated by watching my epic motivational videos, you're actually being filled with the spirit, if you know what I mean. So when you feel like you're at the end of the rope, when you feel like there's no path, there's no purpose, there's no point, I want you to remember that these tricks exist to get certain chemicals firing. And while we talk to the people we care about and try to figure out what's up, at the same time, we can use this to maybe get an extra couple hours of work done, or to psych ourselves up for a difficult decision. There's so much more than you could ever imagine to yourself. And it's absolutely spellbinding what we're capable of mentally if we push ourselves past the limits. Now, when we have this concept nailed down and it's appropriately organized in the tool shed in the back on the shelf of lubes next to the Reservoir Dogs Collector's Edition box set on VHS, of course, and the other lubes we mentioned in this podcast on days past, we can get back to the tango between discipline and motivation for one last dance. And who leads this dance? Who leads it again? Discipline leads the dance. It's the go-to. It's the foundation. Discipline in many ways is like the force. It binds us. It surrounds us. It's a driving energy of the universe, in my opinion. And at the same time, we don't want a boring partner. We want some danger, some fun, some fuego, something to make the nighttime a little sexier and a little less lonely. And that's motivation. Motivation's the dirty, dangerous dance partner. Sometimes receptive, loving, and affectionate, and sometimes snubbing you with the cold shoulder. Motivation can be a conduit to the muse or a false prophet, leading to inevitable demise despite your attempts at salvation, at least for that moment in time. So the point is simple. Use motivation at your own caution, and always remember that discipline is the core of everything. It's the Schwartz in this story, our story. You use motivation to aid you on your weak points, but the real truth of the matter is that discipline will set you free. Everything you've heard about it, it's true. It's all true. So I want you guys to think about that. I want you to remember that there's always outside of the box solutions to most any problem or obstacle. Stress, panic, worry, these emotions cause actions that hinder us instead of helping us. They cause us to lose much of our time-tested, evolutionary processed, and historically proven human problem-solving skills and capabilities. And the more we master control over these emotions and use logic to mull through the minutia of our issues, the quicker we'll solve them, the quicker we'll learn from them, and the quicker we'll do better. Essentially, consistent repetition of this process will most definitely cause a stacking effect, which translated, it means that every time you go around, you'll be more successful as long as you learn something from it. And I recognize that this stuff's hard, guys, but I've done it all. I've experienced it firsthand, and I know you can too. I know some of you have as well. This stuff is real, and it's what all successful people do. And the only reason it seems unimaginable is that among our tax brackets, sometimes people tend to collectively deem it inconceivable. So whenever anyone dreams above and beyond their group setting, in many cases, they're immediately brought back down to earth. Still, though, I say float on, fly to the stars, land in the sky, and find out who you are and what you're made of, where you want to go, and get the fuck after it. So in The Waterboy, Bobby works hard and finds his motivation. He hones his motivation. He develops his discipline, and then something strange seems to start happening. The better he gets, the more he becomes a man, as the movie states, which, applies to anyone. The more he stands up, not just to his bullies, but to life itself, to all of the roadblocks that were always in his way, to everyone that ever told him he wasn't good enough. He was too dumb, too ugly, too fat, too white, too black, a woman, a man, gay, straight, anyone or anything that ever brought fire in your belly to anything that seems impossible. Visualize, attack, say no, close your eyes, and run straight through it. End of story. So let's start winding this episode down, guys. I really hope what we talked about helps you, or at least arms you with tools to help someone else. And that's what the American Reveille Podcast is really all about. I really want to help some folks, and I really want to arm you guys with the ability to help others. And I really had a great time doing this one. And I think I'm having a great time in general. In fact, I know I am. I really appreciate you all, and I would love to get some more feedback from you guys. So tell me, how are you liking the show? Has it helped anyone? Any requests for different topics or even for new types of segments? I have the capability, guys. So let's put our heads together, folks. Team effort. So please, guys, take the time to follow us on Apple Podcasts. Please leave an honest review and rating so I can actually make this show better. I'm on Twitter at the @ American Reveille, American_Reveille on Instagram, American Reveille on Facebook, the same thing on YouTube, www.americanreveille.com. Folks, we're not playing around here. So the more you talk to me, the more you interact, the better it's going to get. And just as Vicki Valencourt ran to Bobby on the field at the end of the movie to bring him some glorious H2O blessed by an Eskimo medicine man, I'm running to you with my own off-brand version of the good juice. So with that being said, this is Sadani, guys, not Dasani. This is the American Reveille Podcast, and I bet you, if life's got you down, if you look hard enough into the crowd, you look over and you look real deep, you look real close, you'll see Rob Schneider standing there, and you'll hear him say it. You'll hear him yell, "You can do it! cut his fucking head off, and you'll find that damn motivation. So guys, until next time, this is James Lane clocking the fuck out. Peace out, guys.